they call it, going to play. You can have a good time playing. Sometimes you're going to meet playmates out there that from over there and play with them. And that's the battle. So that's how we describe it. And sometimes you're not going to make it. Your playmate's going to put you down, or you're going to put them down. So if you lose your life in battle, we believe that your soul goes to the Creator immediately.
A bully will bully people as long as he is not stopped. If a bully bullies you and pushes you against the lockers in the high school hallway and you push him back, he's probably not going to come back at you again. But if you allow him to continue to bully you, it will escalate, but it'll escalate because each time he bullies you, he'll use more force until you, as the victim, put a stop to it.
We believe that peoples and nations have the right to determine their own destiny, free from military coercion by great powers. We believe that all persons detained or persecuted by the United States government should have the same rights of due process. We believe that questioning, criticism, and dissent must be valued and protected. We believe that people of conscience must take responsibility for what their own governments do.
You know, you're not fighting for the American flag, democracy, and all that stuff. That stuff is so far-fetched. Well, I'll speak for myself. That's so far-fetched from you. All you want to do is stay alive. I want to keep you alive so you can keep me alive. You want to keep me alive so I can keep him alive so he can keep us alive. And that's your whole world. That is your whole world. My world was 5 guys. Back here was a dream.
Current military operations are focused on achieving several outcomes. To make clear to the Taliban leaders and their supporters that harboring terrorists is unacceptable and carries a price. To acquire intelligence to facilitate future operations against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban regime that harbors the terrorists.
I just don't see why why people fight like this. I don't understand it at all. Why?
Anyone who thinks that they know is just kidding themselves. But this is the playground, you know, we're animals. And on the playground, you know, sometimes it's like you just do nasty fucking things. You know, everyone has.
When I was a scout sniper and part of my job being that same thing, the same, you know, under Apache commander, you get to see people die. Hey, it's not fun the first time around. Second time around either. But after that, you kind of get used to it. You kind of get to like the hunt. And the hunt meaning finding your victim, or whatever you want to call them, your opponent, your target, your goal, your destination. That was the thrill. But the pulling of the trigger, or the use of a knife or your hands, to Killing another person wasn't cool.
How do you train for war? I mean, really, how do you do it? I work with dead bodies, bodies blowing apart. How do you train me? You blow up a body and bring it to me? You burn a body with napalm and you bring it to me? How do you do it? I mean, you can show me, and you give me ideas. You can show me, tell me, show me pictures and everything else. You'll give me the best training that you can give me, but it really doesn't start until it really happens, and you actually see it. Because if I can tell you what a burning body smells like, and I can tell you how the touch of somebody's hand, if you ever cook and you see how meat will come off a bone, I've done that with people's legs and their arms. Now, how can I train you to do that? I can tell you about it.
Our country is gonna fall. It's in the process of falling now. Look at here. Look at Iraq. Look how big that fucking country is, man. Look how many of the people we've lost. Americans, soldiers. Look at how many people they have lost. For what fucking point? What is the point? You don't have one. It's a moot point.
Kids are not supposed to die for the stupidity of adults, but they do. When they die, what do you do?
Oh, really?
What do you do to them? What do you say? We had a surgeon, he was the best one we had, and one child died on him. He was never the same again. That one child, it was finished. Yeah, a lot of guys that would do that, all of a sudden something would trigger. They saved, a lot of lives and stuff, but that one child, he couldn't take it, he couldn't accept it. And he saved a lot of children's lives, he saved them, but he couldn't take that one. That might have been one out of maybe about 200 or 300, but that one is over. And what happens, like a lot of times, if you see any medics, you'll find that there'll be one patient that'll yell out, and that yell will stay in your head forever.
So we're making a charger.
And you'll hear it over everybody and everything. One voice will connect with you, and you'll hear that over everything. Bombs dropping, people yelling, screaming, you'll hear that voice, and that voice never goes away.
The liberation of Iraq is a crucial advance in the campaign against terror. We've removed an ally of Al-Qaeda. No terrorist network will gain weapons of mass destruction from the Iraqi regime because the regime is no more.
A statement like, I support our troops, but I don't support the war, is hypocrisy. If you support the troops, you support the war, you support the commander-in-chief, he knows more than we do. He was elected by a majority of the people. He's got a job to do just like those soldiers do. Let him do his job.
George Bush, 5 years as governor, the only thing we know about him is 152 executions.
And here's a man that is the largest state terrorist in the world right now.
Our boys over here, he's sending them to die in Iraq.
Yet he's pro-life. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think Bush needs to get the fuck out.
What happens if he gets reelected? What's going to happen?
If there's not massive rioting, I think a lot of people will go to Canada.
Bush lost by 600,000 votes last time. This time, let him get back in the office by losing by 3 million votes.
Democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. All your shopping. All your shopping. All your shopping. No blood for oil. 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 No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! My bag! Why can't you just tell them to give back my bag? How many warnings we got? Do this. Get over here. We'll stay here! 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 All your training! Bombs are dropping! Stop the line!
Were they arrested?
Who's Times Square? Our Times Square! Who's Times Square? Stop moving from the back up to 6th Avenue, so please turn around. 5, 6, 7, 8! We will not cooperate!
God didn't start the war. He gave you a brain and a skill. You make the bombs, you make the bullets, you pick the people you're going to kill, but you want him to stop it. But he didn't start it. So why do you pray to him? Why don't you just stop making the bombs, stop making the bullets? He gave you free will. But you'll hear him. But how can he stop it? He gave you everything that you need to make peace. You decided to make war.
Over 1 million people died from the last unjust war in Iraq. And more will die now if we don't stop the U.S. war machine. The U.S. is the biggest gangster in the world. They're going after Iraq not because Iraq is a threat, but exactly because it is weak from war and sanctions.
A war that was clearly not what it was sold to be. That's obvious now. It's on the front pages of all the newspapers. Well, what is it about? It's about oil.
It's about imposing a model that people are resisting. The model that we've seen fail in Latin America, fail in Eastern Europe and Russia, fail everywhere around the world, is coming back at us in Iraq. American empire, get used to it. That's what they're telling to us.
No more babies are gonna die for oil! No more dead babies for oil! Yeah, did you know that? Dick Cheney kills babies for oil. It's fucking hilarious, isn't it? This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
They should go there and take the place of people that don't want to be there. That's what they should do.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Illegal wars. Bush Cheney, put him in jail.
Shame on you!
Okay, maybe you get discredited by the American media. Maybe that happens, but you're still doing something. I mean, dude, you're just fucking naysaying all these people's ideas. That's fucking whack, dude.
Because I know where they come from. Right, look.
No, you can't say you don't know where any of these people come from. All these people
I know
have
where most of them come from.
No, all these people have different reasons for being here. All these people took different trips to get in.
Sure they do.
Yeah, like
sure they do.
They're working as hard as they can, man.
We go over there and do our due. Hell yeah. But you know what it would be? It wouldn't be for this country. It would be me and you looking out for each other. That's what it would be about. That's all it would be. If you go, I go.
We have a long fight ahead of us. Capitalism won't give us what we want on a silver platter. I hope no one thinks by us marching here today that they're going to hand us what we want on a silver platter. They're not going to give us what we want. Only way for us to get what we want is to come out, demonstrate, organize, and fight back.
People just don't like to accept other people that are different from themselves. And they, you know, when you have a little disagreement, the first thing you do is fight. It happens in cities, you know, in neighborhoods. So I guess how can we expect it not to happen within, you know, countries?
It's supposed to be really good if people didn't have to believe that anyone that wasn't part of their associated group is an adversary. Like people could kind of keep to the idea that everyone else on the planet is kin. And that even if someone doesn't share their beliefs, kind of like if, you know, like an uncle or an aunt or a mother or grandmother or grandfather, you know, you have people in your own family that, you know, you're gonna have disagreements with. But you still recognize that they're part of your own family, and, you know, you'll protect them from anything, you know, no matter what, and you still feel close to them. It'd be nice if people could extend that to people that have different cultures, different genders, different subcultures.
But I think people are even more concerned with religion. It's something deeper in the heart than these than the political systems, because they know they've changed over the years so drastically, whereas these religions pretty well has stayed the same for quite a few centuries now.
The problem with religion, any religion, is that there's no religion that is content to be self-contained. They're always trying to spread out and make new converts.
And they came to Christianize the Indians because we were savages and we didn't believe in God. But see, they didn't know what we believed in. We had a very well-established religion. They used to take all the children. That's when this started in the 1860s, 70s, 1900s. They took all the children and put them in these schools. And they were either Catholic schools, Protestant schools, and they wouldn't let them go home. And they took them away from their families. And they did that right up until, I think it was, let me see, I think the last one closed sometime in 1960.
And until we accept the person next door's religion and think of it as much of it, or respect it as much as we respect our own, and people don't go around pushing religious brochures in other people's hands, or worse, we're going to continue to have these kind of problems in the world.
I've studied a lot of different religions, and they're all the same, I've realized. They're all just different flavors, different colors within the color wheel. If you go back through all major religions and a lot of the minors, you'll find that they all have a flood story. That's because they're all branches of the same tree of the religion, which is the tree of life. So you have the religion that Noah and all them believed when they got off the ark, and that is the base of the tree. What happened before the flood is the roots of the tree. As the tree goes up, more and more religions are spread, and as his sons and daughters went out and populated the world, we got a different variations and takes on all of mankind and spirituality and everything. And so all of these are the branches of the tree of life.
I could never understand England and Ireland being the same kind of people and having those terrible religious wars, you know. I can see if you're a completely different kind of people, maybe like the Muslims and the Christians, but
Why would you have a priest, a reverend, and a rabbi in a war zone? Why are they there? Because each one of them says, thou shalt not kill. They know that's what you're going to do. But they're not telling you not to. And they go to confession. What do they tell them? My father, I killed 30,000 people today. Say two Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers. And go back tomorrow and do it again. And you come back and say it again. How many times can you do it? And they keep coming saying it, and they keep giving absolution all the time. Is killing okay over there? And here for religion, it's not, but it's okay over there. But not here. You know, so what do you do now? That's why a lot of guys have a lot of problems with religion.
In the words of the prophet Isaiah, to the captives come out, and to those in darkness be free.
and so Peacemaker came and got them to bury all their weapons of war, and they buried them under this tree, the tree of peace. I happen to have that emblem here. It's a pine tree. Now, sitting on top of this pine tree is an eagle, and that eagle is to help us, to warn us when danger is approaching.
We do a lot of prescribed burning here, and if you burn around their nests, they're up and at them, and they'll be flying around at least checking you out and all that. A lot of the things that we do is try to burn in such a way as it doesn't disturb the nest too badly, because that makes it so that they don't come back. So they will eat rodents, they will eat other birds, and they will eat carrion. However, carrion ends up making up most of their diet, and also there's a funny story that I was told once about an eagle intimidating vultures into vomiting and then subsequently eating the vomit. So it was a scavenger scavenging on scavenge.
How do they intimidate the...
I'm not to tell you the truth, I wasn't really sure about that. I'm sure it was just posturing and so forth, the way animals do, kind of like that.
Their natural habitat is disappearing, so naturally they're becoming what you might consider scavengers, whereas at one time they wouldn't have been considered a scavenger for doing what they do. They would just be doing what is natural to them, bearing in mind that in nature, you know, an animal, an insect, or whatever is there to keep down, like, the balance in nature. That's where the eagle would fit in. It is only killing what for food. It doesn't go out and kill unnecessarily.
I'm not too sure why it's a national animal. I'd assume it's due directly to the fact that everybody has been told it's a national animal since they were yay high. Or what's the national animal?
Bald eagle.
Bald eagle. So everybody's pretty much spoon-fed it from the time that they're a child. I don't necessarily. Again, my understanding was that Benjamin Franklin initially wanted it to be the wild turkey, which I think would be more appropriate. But what ended up happening was, political maneuvering and so forth, and this big regal scavenger ended up getting it.
Why do you think the turkey would be more appropriate?
Do you keep up with politics much?
That's all you want to say about that?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. It's like a bush.
And that eagle is to warn us when danger is approaching.
Typically there's two commercials for two branches of the military, right? Air Force and Navy going on 2 times a week or 2 times a month, depending on the politics at the time. Summer before 9/11, we had all 4 military branches flooding every day, the commercials and the TV every day. Summer before 9/11, to the point that there was actually a flight simulator in the Fort Collins, Colorado Mall with a guy from the Air Force saying, hey man, check out this flight simulator, ride on all these rides like planes, and then here's where you sign up for the Air Force. So we know the military was hiring people like Matt. The summer before 9/11, a friend of mine looks at all these things and he says to himself, man, we're going to war. I don't know who with, but we're going to war soon. Summer before 9/11.
Because, actually the Carlyle group, George Bush Sr., was meeting with the Taliban several times before 9/11 happened, and to try to negotiate the placement of oil pipeline to Afghanistan to get oil from the Caspian Sea. Cheney himself was quoted as, the Caspian Sea is going to be the most significant, oil reserve, in the coming decades. But the Taliban refused, and, one of the Carlyle group's last comments to the Afghanistan government was, either you will accept our carpet of gold or you accept our carpet of bombs. And so, there's just so much evidence, about 9/11 happening before, it actually happened. I mean, they knew exactly what was going to happen. Several foreign intelligence agencies, were giving us information. Hey, something's going to happen on the week of September 9th. We have all the Al-Qaeda's up to something. They had all these detailed, documentation about it, but they either chose to ignore it, or, maybe it was the bureaucracy, maybe they weren't sharing intelligence, whatever like that.
This is an invasion by Bush father and by Bush son. They want to control the oil in Iraq, and that's how they orchestrate all this mess about the terrorism. And leaders of other countries, they have to send their troops. No.
There you go, Trace.
Stop.
Yesterday, came out, football hero Pat Tillman died over in Afghanistan. Why did he die? What was he over there doing?
I don't have anything against, a lot of Americans would be anti-troop as well, but I think a lot of people there, feel, they're doing the right thing, they're doing what's right for the country, and it's admirable. I mean, it's good to stand up for what you believe in, defend what you think is right. I just think it's, sad that they've been misled in such a way, they don't really, most people are there, they don't realize that they're being used as tools of the state, because that's exactly what the Army is being used. The military, the troops over there. I mean, a lot of people will be anti-troop, but I'm not anti-troop. I'm anti the policies that put the troops over there. Hell, I couldn't be, more pro-troops. Because, I mean, if, all these people say support our troops when they're over. As we support our troops, get them back over here. Why you put them in the line of fire?
American troops, young kids, but those who survive and coming home with no limbs, they destroy their lives. No.
Last question. We're a few blocks from the White House. Yeah. What would your, if those guys can hear you here, what would your message be, and what changes would we need to make?
All empires fall. The Roman Empire fell. The Nazi Germany Empire fell. Their time is numbered, and the crisis of capitalism is going to get worse and worse until it reaches a climax where either the people won't take it anymore, or we won't have enough resources to go along with the way we've been going, or time is numbered, and better watch out. If Bush gets reelected, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
How so?
I mean, right now, even he has to actually respond to some of the criticisms that he's been made, and he's got to watch out because he's got a re-election to face. But if he gets reelected, he's got absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, he can do anything he wants. Hell, he almost does it anyway. Hell, if he gets reelected, I mean, the purely symbolic act of democracy every 4 years, I mean, he's not going to hold back. They're already kind of floating the idea of a draft. I think that'd be political suicide if they did it before the election, but afterwards he'd have no hesitation, I think, to just implement a draft.
You all wear masks. I just wonder why.
Because cops like to take pictures and cops like to follow people around and tap phones and stuff like that. The mask is a way of remaining anonymous within the black bloc, so that we're able to participate in autonomous actions while remaining some sort of anonymity within the group. So that we're not recognized and singled out or followed when we go home or whatever. Not just cops take pictures, but there's a lot of counter demonstrators or people, extreme rightists who take pictures and follow them around and find their address, and so forth. You know about the Pro-Life Action League? Well, they're a group of extreme moralists, mostly based in Chicago, who actually do. They go and, they put pictures of aborted fetuses and stuff like that, and they take pictures of counter demonstrators, they find their address, they find out, where they live and stuff like that, and they put it on the internet for everyone to, I mean, these guys go and they beat up clinics, and doctors and stuff like that who help, healthcare and stuff like that, or abortions or whatever. They go burn buildings down. I don't think the news would cover it as much as it actually happens.
Oh, believe me.
A lot of stuff happens that the news doesn't even bother covering.
Something like that, believe me, what they've done with the abortion shootings, they would report it. The media would report it. If they hear about it,
get hit by chemical
Oh,
weapons.
so what we should do is just wait till to attack us again,
They
right?
weren't
That's
gonna
the way to
attack
go. Oh, they're not, right?
No.
3,000. Oh, that's right. Saddam Hussein is telling
Saddam
the
Hussein
truth,
has nothing
and
to
Bush
do
is
with
lying,
9/11.
right? Oh, is that right? Oh, so you are pro-Saddam. You have the mind of an infant. Bush is doing the right thing. The U.S. has a right to defend itself against state-sponsored terrorism. The U.S. has a right to defend itself against state-sponsored terrorism. How? By fighting in the Middle East. If we don't fight, they are going to fuck us up.
That's
You
right.
included.
We should fight, sir, and the world is next, right after Iraq, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. Do not accept your lopsided news. I agree and so enthusiastic.
For them to attack us again, right? I'm not talking.
Oh, that's just right in. I'm sorry. Yes, it's just
We
coming
should
right
never wait
now.
till they attack
Al
us again,
Qaeda,
right?
contrary to
Saddam Hussein
popular
is telling the
opinion
truth.
and actual news sources, has been officially linked to Iraq. I'm sorry, this just in. Just a moment. That man has informed us that Al Qaeda is actually Iraq, spelled backwards. Or I'm sorry, maybe it's the other way around. I'm not sure. I always have difficulty with this dang Arab names. The point being that the president has expressed his approval to the progress of the Iraqi military campaign, saying that, see, they really are happy to see us, I think.
Excuse me, sir. How much is this war going to cost?
I'm not sure. The running tab has been started at 70 billion, but growing steadily, contrary to those annoying Senate slowing downings, whatever they're called.
We know that when it says Operation Free and like liberate, Iraq, it's just silly. I mean, it's like no one can swallow that. This is like a bad action movie. You see the preview and you know what you're going to get into. And I feel like that's what that show is. It's just another show. It's like a whole new reality TV.
But wait, I'm sorry, this just in. We have some really cool 3D renderings of B-2 bombers, Apache helicopters, and some tanks to show you, so please stay tuned. Respect your idiot talks without question. Do not think about thinking outside of the thinking box. For harm can come to you. Confusion may occur. Fear is in your mind. Therefore, the logical answer is, don't use it. Why create your own reality when it can be shipped to you anywhere in the world through fabulous streaming technology?
I shouldn't be up here. TV news, to me, is the professional wrestling of journalism right now. There's no news on it.
I think it's something like in 1980, there were 53 companies that controlled all the media. Now in 2004, it's down to about 4 companies that control all the media. And basically, look at this war, for instance. At least 60% of the people in this country don't want this war. But where is that reflected in corporate media?
I remember when Bush spoke to the American people on the eve of the war, and the media didn't really ask any questions. That press conference at the Capitol, they didn't ask any questions, and that's kind of remains the same.
Watch more Fox News, and you'll share our right-wing views.
We have allies that we don't hear about because of the way the media is controlled everywhere on earth. When I was in Palestine, the amount of anarchists doing direct action that were both Jewish, Arab, and Christian joining together in direct actions to stop the Israeli-U.S. occupation was impressive, and you never hear anything about that.
The occupation now! Because we connect with each other in the indie media!
And you had to listen to NPR. And you had to walk around with your sign saying, oh, the media's bad, the media's this. And look what's happening now. We got our oil on fire underneath there.
It's called information, disinformation, whatever the truth is. You know how you get the truth?
I'll tell you how you get the truth.
You are speaking the truth when you hold the eagle feather in your hand and are giving a talk.
I'll tell you how you get the truth. When somebody messes up.
Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. The problem with history anywhere, in any country in the world, is once it becomes history, it's not about reporting historical truth. It's about reshaping that truth to meet the needs of the day.
Way back when Britain, Spain, France, etc., came to this country, they had to make us, the Indians here, bad people in order for it to be okay to kill us. Okay, they had to make, it's just like giving us bad PR. They would say that we weren't even human, that we were animals of some kind, and so therefore they could indiscriminately kill us. You bring it to modern times when you have, as you call it, media. At one time it was just the newspapers, and how they did it is portraying the Indian as always mean, savage, or whatever. And so they would make the people afraid, and it was okay therefore then to go and take your land, kill you.
U.S. out of North America!
There is no ownership on the land. We just pretty much are borrowing it. That was more their idea than ours. The white people think we can own it. We can't. We don't take none of this with us. It's just borrowed. Only thing you can take with you is tattoos. I just respect the Native American for the troubles they've had, for what we've taken away from them.
Do you feel that our country just continues to do that, or that it's different?
That's what we do best. Doesn't look like there's much chance of changing.
Break the chains of death! Break the chains of death! Break the chains of death! Break the chains of death!
So good. You got strategic geographic position, just like a third world country should. Just like a third world country should. Yeah, I'm a World Bank. Yeah, I'm a World Bank. Yeah, I'm a World Bank.
What goes on in that building looks nice and bureaucratic, humdrum, but what it actually is premeditated murder. Premeditated mass murder of the people who are displaced by the big dams and the big agro-industrial projects, by the poverty that dislocation causes, and by the repression that takes place when people resist, whether it's Cochabamba, Bolivia, the Dominican Republic, Argentina, all around the world. What goes on in that building and across the street in the IMF is premeditated murder, and they take their orders from just a little bit up the street at the U.S. Treasury Department. There's two arms of imperialism. There's the one from the Pentagon, there's one from the IMF and the WTO, and together those arms are trying to strangle us, trying to strangle an alternative. Because this is the greatest purveyor of violence on earth. This is the belly of the beast. We're here in solidarity with the struggle internationally. We're here for the struggles today. We have no interest in the war in Iraq. We have no interest in these structural adjustment programs. Abolish the bank, abolish the IMF, bring home the troops, U.S. out of Iraq now.
Go away, hate mongers! You're not welcome here! We don't like your anger or your culture of fear!
Okay, here we go. We got one Chris, one Scalia. Right. Which Supreme Court most likely to shred the Constitution next? Justice Breyer. Justice Breyer. All right.
Sorry.
Thank you. Very close.
Thanks for playing.
country is in debt or somebody needs like international assistance and stuff like that, the IMF, which is a body for a lot of the major capitalist countries, most particularly the U.S., they agree to get a debt, but in exchange they have to do all these structural restructures, like they restructure the economy of the country in such a way that it allows privatized companies, privatized American corporations to come in and essentially profit from the land or the labor or the resources, and get all this foreign capital, and so the rich dudes and the states could make money off the economies worldwide. And a lot of them right now, there's just absolutely no hope for these countries to repay their debts, and yet the IMF still insists that they got to pay it up, or they're going to come in and make more sanctions and stuff. And, if you look at historically, the IMF and the structural replacements have historically have failed in almost every major country that's been implemented. And I mean, look at the Argentine economy; it's utterly collapsed right now.
Nearly half the urban population in Argentina lives in poverty today. 1 out of 4 lives in extreme poverty. This is a country that used to feed the world. This is a country that had a standard of living as high as Europe. That's the star pupil for the International Monetary Fund.
And what they're calling for is construction of a lot of new large dams, privatization of the water systems in different parts of India. And it's almost like the World Bank has not learned from its past experience. Large dams displace people without sufficient rehabilitation or compensation. It's found out that the large dams tend not to really be successful in terms of generating more power, which is the stated goal.
Why are we damming things when there's solar power and there's wind power? Why are we going out of our way to monopolize all this water or build cities in places that don't have water? Haven't we learned from looking at Africa? You just don't settle places that aren't settled. It'll bite you in the ass in 50 years. It's like that we have to stop the flow of water to the point where it ends up parching out more areas of the country.
Yet they're promoting the very same thing, which is large dams in India. The cause of that is pretty much the profit interest. There must be some sort of profit motive for companies in India, for the World Bank itself, to keep promoting things like large dams, even though they know that millions of people are being displaced. They're violating their own rules where there's no compensation for these people being displaced.
When they come in and they fix up an economy, they reduce the amount of environmental regulations so that they could go freely go and pollute or profit, because it costs them money, and every time they've given a choice whether they help the environment or make a buck. I mean, if it was organized by a collective of people within the community, they would say, oh, we got to help the environment. It's our land, man. We're shitting on our own, where we live. But the dudes up here in the states and stuff like that who, are figureheads for these institutions are like, well, we don't care. All we care is an extra $100,000. Sure, I dump chemicals into the river. No bother to us.
They have a nice job sitting in this office in Washington, D.C., down the street from where we are, and could care less about poor people around the world, even though that's what their supposed aim is, and that's supposedly what their mission is.
400 people in the United States make as much money in a single year as 300 million people in the poorest countries of the world. Are they succeeding? Or maybe yes. Maybe yes. If you live in a least developed country, you are 25 times more likely to die of tuberculosis than if you live in a rich country. If you are a mother in one of the 10 countries with the least well-developed economic health systems, you are 110 times more likely to die during childbirth than if you live in one of the rich countries with the 10 best health systems. Are they succeeding? Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. It depends what they have in mind.
It was interesting. I just found out that Robert McNamara, who was the defense secretary and helped create and lead the Vietnam War, then became the president of the World Bank. And I think it's correct that he was there until 1981. So that shows you everything that you need to say about the World Bank. It's the other arm of the military machine, and they use diplomacy to starve people, basically to take people's resources, and that is basically starving people to death. It's slow-paced economic genocide, and these people should be totally ashamed of themselves, and we have to end it. All power to the people. We're all here to stop the globalization that's going on, and the other thing that needs to happen, and which we're all a part of, is to stop the war in Iraq, because the war in Iraq is just part of globalization. It's just what the WTO and the World Bank couldn't get through, so now Bush is just going into Iraq to steal the oil.
Don't be fooled by the words war. It's bigger than a war. It's bigger than a war. It's the day-to-day. Capitalism's price to pay. The system based on murder and the packaging of beer. Swallowing of life and the cranking of the gears. They need us, we don't need them. 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 They would have us work in the prison yard. Train one of us to be the prison guard. And we fight amongst each other as we grow paranoid. But the heroin and television never fill a void. But freedom lives forever and our aim is true. The answer lives inside of you. It's bigger than a war. 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 Thanks.
Bush is the flag. Oh, it is. Burn all flags. Respect no man-made boundaries. We're all one humanity. Damn straight. You burn that flag. You burn that flag too. Burn all flags. All flags. One world, one humanity. Respect no man-made humanity. No war between nations, no peace between classes. Fuck the ruling powers of all nations.
Too bad this is not a picture of the White House burning to ashes. One day. One day.
The fact that I'm here today from Mount Kebu speaking English to you is a result of slavery, feudalism, imperialism, and capitalism. How can you be a capitalist when it was founded on unjust principles and racism? I repeat, how can you be a capitalist when it was founded on the principles of exploitation of one nation by another?
And just like neo-colonialism in general, it takes away the ability for indigenous people to have sovereignty over their own lives, because when indigenous people have sovereignty over their own lives, they don't benefit the capitalist establishment.
Transnational corporations, the IMF and World Bank, have taken over from the colonizers. They give us loans to build their own factories, so debt holders have taken over from the slave masters. Structural adjustment programs tell us to devalue our currency so that we can export more to the US. Does that make sense to you? Why don't you devalue your currency so that you can sell more to us?
Well, the free trade area of the Americas, well, essentially it's the next step. They're trying to expand the NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Area of the Americas, to Latin America and other areas around that hemisphere. They want to make it into a big free trade bloc, which is just another tool. They want to make it easier for companies to come in and otherwise, manipulate the economy. Free trade to them means the freedom to have sweatshops, the freedom to pollute. They want to break down trade barriers which infringe on their ability to conduct business, throughout the globe. The people of Latin America are rising up, and there's a lot of resistance right now to, the free trade of the Americas, CAFTA as well as Central, and a bunch of the other institutions. And NAFTA has failed miserably, and we can expect the same thing for the free trade area of the Americas. And, there's nothing wrong with globalization itself. I think, we shouldn't respect man-made borders. We're all really one people. But instead of corporate globalization, which is what this is, we need to, it needs to be not concentrating power to corporations and people who have vested interest in manipulating the economies. It needs to be by people. It needs to be by democracy. It needs to be by direct democracy. It needs to be by people in these communities, making decisions that affect everyone. We shouldn't trust people, in the tops of the buildings who push around papers all day and attend meetings and luncheons and stuff like that, who go home every day and clean up. Hell, make like $250,000 a year or more every year, when there's people, in Latin America who are suffering from these policies of the FTA. Those are the people who are suffering, and the people at the top are just profiting off of it.
These ants are going to return to their countries and terrorize their communities. They're going to, stop unions from being built. They're going to stop democratic elections. And so we know who's come out of the School of the Americas. We know Noriega, for example. Moving on, here we have the dollarization of the economy. These ants are fixing economy by bartering, so they can set their own value for goods. They're trading corn for a little ant hoodie because it's really cold up in the Andes. And these ants here, they've dollarized their economy, much like Guatemala. So there is the illusion of purchasing power of the United States. Some countries in the Isthmus of Central America have actually switched to using the dollar, the American dollar. And so when the illusion broke, you could see video of men and women on their way to work, just wearing suits and ties, smashing the ATMs, because the banks had put up steel walls to keep them out. And so the dollarization of the economy means you can't set your own value anymore. You can't decide what's worth what. And these things are being controlled from afar, and now you're part of the world market.
So that's really what globalization is all about, is bringing everybody into this market so that a few people can profit from it.
There are two ways that we can look at our planet. We can see the world as this oil pumping station, which is something that we can take from, we can resource extract from.
People are taught that it doesn't matter, that what they're doing doesn't matter. Like every day I drive to work in a car and I'm a hypocrite.
In 15, 20 years, there's not even going to be such thing as an antique anymore. Antiques are going to be like pool cues and shit like that. Do I got a good point? Everything's going to be made fucking
out of plastic.
Industrial.
But over here, this is the living heart of the earth. And around it is this word Pataputik, and that's Quechua, and it means earth time. So we have a spiral in the center. So in direct contrast to this judge wasp who's bringing over this linear notion of time as the hourglass, now we have the spiral. The spiral is old, and essentially what it means is what comes around goes around, and time is not linear. Things can happen and repeat again, and time is not linear. Things can happen and repeat again, and there is no end. There's only new beginnings.
Talking about renewable energy, it's been proven that solar energy is a viable option. It's been proven that wind energy can be harnessed and is a viable option. Okay, but they're still trying to push bills through right now that are going to make it possible for us to open up more nuclear power plants, okay? When they first opened up nuclear power plants, they did it under the assumption that technology would advance as such to where they could learn how to control the waste, okay? Well, here we are, 50 years later, they still haven't figured out how to control the waste. There's I don't remember where it is in Washington State, but there's this thing they have to go burp it every day. They have to go, a guy in a suit goes and opens up this thing to let out all the gases that have been building up overnight in this delicious nuclear sludge pot. It's like you're going to tell people who live along Cancer Alley in Louisiana, and people who are getting all these different weird types of cancers for drinking the water that the public is pumping into their houses don't have a viable complaint. I'll tell you you're wrong. Okay, yeah, them dumping all this good energy, all this nuclear energy that they're using, all this coal, all the other stuff that it's good until you're the guy breathing it in, or your daughter's the one who can't have children.
So there's nuclear waste in Los Alamos, New Mexico. The U.S. government is going to separate out the plutonium into 90% pure, weapons-grade plutonium, ship it by train from Los Alamos, New Mexico to Charleston, South Carolina, take it off the train, load it on a boat, ship it across the Atlantic, unload it in France, take it by truck across France, turn it into MOX fuel, which is an attempt to recycle nuclear waste, but well, that's pretty complicated. Then they're going to take this MOX fuel across France, load it back on a boat, ship it to Charleston, take it to a nuclear power plant. There's been people following, the trucks that take this stuff across, the trains, the boat. That's going to happen on. It's a completely trackable, completely known route of powder. The plutonium is basically this powder form that if anything happens along the way at all, it gets in the wind, it gets in the water, it gets everywhere. Seriously intense, insane ecological disaster.
This amount of plutonium, it's 300 pounds. It's enough to give lung cancer to every person who has ever lived on the planet Earth.
Focusing on not letting the shipment happen out of the Charleston port. We will probably try and flotilla out on little boats and try and have them not run us over with big boats.
It's there are obvious energy solutions out there, but the 67 white men, they're going to lose $10 million apiece because we're no longer using coal. Or the 57 white guys that are running the board of directors for these tire companies that don't want the tires that have already been created, that don't pop anymore, to get out there, because how are they going to, where's the renewable income in tires that don't pop? Where's your renewable income in energy that doesn't run out? How does this? How does this exchange of numbers continue to occur? It doesn't. It flat out stops because you figure out an alternative. And then there was a deal that the government made with Ford to build an electric car. So Ford does it under a contract with the government that stated that they were going to provide power stations and stuff like that for you to charge your cars, to the tune of $12 million Ford had to bail out on the project because the government wasn't willing to live up to their end of the bargain. And the reason for that is money. It's energy. It's the same reason we're in Iraq right now. It's all about money. It's like Bush has vested oil interests. Of course he's going to go to war for oil. It's putting money in his pocket and Cheney's pocket and everybody else who owns stock in these energies. So when you start coming into places like, let's rape the Everglades so we can put a couple more farms up. Or let's promote sane sex in high school so that we don't have quite so many people, so we don't have to build any more farms. It's like rather than approaching the problem of energy and that how do we find a renewable energy resource that's not going to be raping the lands, we say, hey, let's rape faster. Let's rape better. Let's rape us and despoil us all, and everybody gets their comeuppance.
They're knocking down the wood so that they can build more hospitals, all that shit. I mean, that's tight. But gas station on every fucking corner? What's the need for that? Exxon and Texaco battling so that...
To me, it makes a lot more sense to be putting a lot more money into trying to figure out how we can run cars without gas than it does fighting wars to get more gas.
Right after 9/11, the United States accused many countries of, well, you're terrorists, and many people in the global South feel that the U.S. Sort of obtained a taste of its own medicine because many people consider the United States to be one of the greatest terrorist forces on Earth, and so this spiral is representative of that, and it's in the greater spiral. So if we look, these leafcutter ants are smart. What they're doing is they're taking these pieces of the nightmare down, these pieces of broken computers, and they're composting them, they're returning them. They know they need a filter to create a new world. They know that they just can't, just jumble together the old atrocities and think that they'll be able to create something new. So they're returning it to a filter of the soil, the justice of the soil. This is where everything has come from. And so what they're doing is they're doing a little guerrilla gardening here at the edge of this decaying earth, and they're growing new plants and seeds. They're growing cat's claw, which is powerful enough to tear through concrete. And so what they're doing is they're dismantling this pipeline that says Columbia. They're also dismantling the idea of Columbia as who they are, as their identity. Columbia comes from Columbus. Colonization comes from Columbus. So these people don't associate with this, this pasty white guys coming over and telling them what they are, and this is your state and this is your country. They're dismantling this illusion. So the ants have lent us tremendous inspiration. If you could weigh all the animals and insects on the face of the planet, over 30% by weight is ants. They're a keystone species, so life as we know it would not be possible without them. And so we feel like they're a really good example of how to create community and how to work together. In the face of all this, we feel really small. We feel like we can't do anything. But if we remember what Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small community of thoughtful individuals can change the world, because in fact it's the only thing that ever has. And there's actually a saying in parts of Latin America that says, revolution is the work of the ants. So we encourage you all to go out and talk to each other and break down these illusions.
Wealthiest nations and institutions are getting money from the most impoverished people of the world every day. Now, what's our response?
That's bullshit. Get off it. The enemy is profit. Disease and starvation will not be solved by corporations. That's bullshit. Get off it. The enemy is profit. Are you cold? Are you hungry? Feed the rich! Are you horny? Fuck the rich! Are you cold?
Manipulate you in order that you might fall into their plans. We're not gonna fall into their plans. Keep the discipline. Keep the strength. Walk forward. Stand up with dignity and don't engage in the foolishness that the police may try to provoke you into.
Through the thousands of years that our clans have been in existence, that we have these warrior songs. So when it started, he said, get ready for that battle. So when it started, he said, oh, here they come again. We're in for it.
Some protest cops don't carry guns.
Guys, line it up.
You're full of hatred!
It's your job to keep the peace. Join us. Come on, police. It's your job to keep the peace.
We're not talking about like a street sweeping. You're going to arrest everyone. Is there? I don't know. I shouldn't expect you to be honest with me anyways.
We don't plan to do it. We're here because we're here.
But there weren't cars there 15 minutes ago. Literally, not like this. They lined them up. I saw them line themselves up.
Keeping everybody safe. That's our goal in life. That's what we do.
That's what we say.
That's what we try to do. It's an imperfect world.
5 freedoms in a single sentence. Freedom to worship, freedom of speech, press, assembly, and the freedom to try to change the government. Amazing! Amazing way to organize a society. Extraordinary, messy, scary. You can find terror in American freedom. You can find terror there. Especially if you're Bill O'Reilly.
Sir, do me a favor, please. You need to get inside there because I know there's a lot of traffic.
I'm teaching people the First Amendment.
All right, well, I'm just asking you nicely. Please.
Do you know the First Amendment?
Yes, I do, sir. Do you mind?
What is it? Repeat it after me. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
Thank you.
Or freedom of speech. Or the press.
Please, step in or there's be a problem.
I'm sorry, this just in, the state of insecurity in the nation has been raised to bright orange being high. This just under severe, folks.
Where are they? Excuse me, sir. You know where they're looking for. Excuse me, I'm gonna look. I gotta look behind you now. I gotta look in front of you now. I think there might be a weapon in there. I don't know, man. We got to take your camera now. All right.
We as Americans need to turn off our television sets, forget about McDonald's for a day, take 2 steps back and say, what is going to happen to our children and our grandchildren if we do not support the present Commander-in-Chief?
Why does our government treat us like shit? Veterans, ones that lose body parts, ones that lose the ones that we love. Why are they turning back on us? We fought to help you get your world domination. Why can't you let us share in it?
Someplace in the back of my mind, I do remember the aircraft prophecies saying that at some point in time, we will get our country back. And you just sit around waiting for it. Not in my lifetime, that's for sure.
What do you think it'll take for that to happen?
Well, would have to be the government disappearing. The governments that are there now with all their rules disappearing.
I say just let people do whatever they want. I mean, you know, leave people alone and, you know, nobody's more of an expert about your own life than you are. So we should leave it up to individuals to make the decisions for themselves.
You know, you're talking to an anarchist, so it's, you know, my permanent solution is pretty long, but I suppose, first of all, we have to disband World Bank, IMF, stop all war that's going on right now, that we're involved in, stop the deforestation of Colombia, let go of the political prisoners that are being held under the Patriot Act,
and put an end to fundamentalism in this country. I mean, it's just not against Christianity whatsoever, but when you have somebody in office who is telling women what they can and can't do with their own bodies, that's scary.
See, we don't have a right to vote for war. All this voting we're allowed to do, we're allowed to vote for our fucking governors, our heads of Senate, our heads of all offices, but we can't vote for war. We can't have people. I mean, what is us protesting against war doing?
I believe the two-party system is at fault. I mean, Americans are following a system of government that has been the same since the late 1700s, and we've got this idea that it can't change or that it shouldn't change, like the basic essence of it, and I think that's very wrong. And with the media working hand in hand with the government, people don't have a voice right now.
Freedom of speech ain't doing shit.
It doesn't matter if nobody's listening, dude. You talk all you fucking want, but I mean, if nobody's listening, there's no point.
What's it going to take for there to be a change in this country, or in a different direction?
Another 9/11? A second 9/11. That's what it's going to take.
What would happen then, you think?
Bringing people closer. Look at it this time. Before America had that situation happen to them, with the Twin Towers being bombed and blown up and people getting killed and these kids getting killed, we weren't flying our flags all over the fucking place. We wasn't shaking each other's hand. We wasn't helping each other. We wasn't sticking by each other. Crime rate nationally, has gone down more than 30% in America, in the United States of America, since 9/11. If we don't stop the shit that's happening now, it's going to happen again. I can see it now. It's going to happen again. Somewhere down the line, we're going to be bombed again. This time it may be on a bigger scale.
I don't know what's going to make a change. I have no idea, but I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. Natural disaster, then you all work together.
Extinction level event. I don't think people aren't going to come around. It's too far gone. What's it going to take for people to come around? There's no food left. It's like when we start cannibalizing one another, possibly. When they realize that when everything's extinct except for us. Except us and cows and chickens. That's maybe then. But as far as what's it going to take to bring people around, I wouldn't be so presumptuous as to assume that anything would work. To tell you the truth, what it boils down to is it's accountability. It's about every individual being responsible for their choices. And it's all about choices. You choose to go to work every day. You choose to obey the government. You choose to live your life the way you live it.
How far off do you think we are from that extinction level?
Who cares? It's like I was hoping it was going to be last week, so.
If enough people, everybody would just get together and stop being so scared, it can be like a big change in all of this.
It's going to be from people in the streets like us, standing in solidarity with the people in places like Honduras and India that are actually taking direct action to make their lives better.
Being a political prisoner in America, you could go into any part of the rest of the world and people will hug you and kiss you because you are fighting the worst criminals on earth, and they really appreciate what American activists do. They love us and they hope we succeed, and I think that anybody on the streets of America should realize they're being backed by billions of people.
But people don't realize the power that they have because there's power in numbers. We can let 50 people make the decisions for us for the rest of our lives, or we can just buck up and start making our own decisions. And again, it all boils down to how much you care and what you care about. Most people care about money, and that's what they're going to continue to care about. So that's going to be their main motivating factor. On the other hand, as well as quite a few people that I know, money isn't necessarily of paramount importance. So what's important to me is that my kids and my kids' kids and my puppies' puppies are able to come out here and play. That's it. That's all I care about. I just want. If one kid in 20 years looks out over the prairie and goes, that makes the last 2 years of my life here, and however long I stay here, worth it for me. I think what is of paramount importance is that we do the best we can with what we got until that extinction level event comes to where we can all come back into pretty and the butterflies will come back.
You'd like to come back as a butterfly?
No, God, all right, we're stopping this now. It's getting way too abstract.
The joke is that we want the cockroaches in the future after the nuclear war or agricultural disaster to know what we were talking about.
I'm very, very hopeful that there will be dramatic social change, and people are going to be very surprised. It'll appear as though it came up from nowhere as far as the mainstream Americans are concerned, but I think they're in trouble, and I think that our future is looking very good.
I am the eagle, I live in high country, in rocky cathedrals that reach to the sky. I am the hawk, and there's blood on my feathers, but time is still turning, they soon will be dry. And all those who see me and all who believe in me share in the freedom I feel when I fly. Come dance with the west winds and touch on the mountain tops. Sail o'er the canyons and up through the stars and reach for the heavens and hope for the future and all that we can be, not what we are.
Debts were all forgiven in all the neo-colonies. Soldiers left their bases, went back to their families. A non-aggression treaty was signed with every sovereign state. All the terrorist groups disbanded with no empire left to hate. And they all started planting olive trees after the revolution. George Bush and Henry Kissinger were sent off to the World Court. Their plans for global domination were preemptively cut short. Their weapons of mass destruction were inspected and destroyed. Battleships dismantled, never again to be deployed. And the world breathed a sigh of relief after the revolution.